Welcome back to Become a Calm Mama. I don't know about you, but I am sort of getting excited for summer. And this is actually my younger son's final year of K through 12 education. He's graduating from high school next week. And one of my sons is already home. So we're sort of starting to be in the summer mode. And I know a lot of you are also thinking about summer. I had a couple people in the Calm Mama Club ask me, do you have any summer resources available? And I was like, yeah, I have an amazing toolkit that's called Stress-Free Summer with Kids. And it's all about planning a really great summer. So I was just updating that and making it fresh for 2024. So as I was doing that, as I was updating it, I saw that I have this list of the 7 family essentials that I call them ingredients that you kind of need in order to make sure everybody's needs are met. So I was updating it and I thought, I'm going to do a podcast episode all about the 7 family essentials. And so I'm going to get into it in just a minute. But while you're listening to this, you may have already thought, wait, did she just say there's a summer toolkit? I want that. And also, while I'm talking about all these family essentials, I want you to know that they're all written down in this toolkit. So you can get your hands on the toolkit for free from me. It's like a 30-page toolkit, and it also has a couple videos that are, go along with it. So super great resource, and it's all about helping you create a summer that you actually enjoy. So I give you a bunch of strategies in there about your mindset and how to manage all the obstacles like sibling fights and boredom and screen use and, sleep and all those things. So creating routines and then overcoming obstacles and having a really good idea of what you want for your summer to look like. So that's in the summer toolkit. And you can get a copy of it on my website, calmmamacoaching.com, and you'll find it under free resources. So when you go to my website, Calm Mama, CALM like calm, and then MAMA, calmmamacoaching.com, go to the top, you'll see free resources, and then you'll see a bunch of free resources on that website. So if you've never gone to my website and checked that out, there's the Stop Yelling cheat sheet, the stress reset guide, the managing meltdowns and misbehavior workshop. And then, of course, I just added the Stress-Free Summer with Kids toolkit. So you are definitely going to want to get that. And also you'll be on my newsletter and get, all sorts of great resources from me all the time. So it's cool. If you're already on my newsletter, in your email that you received about this podcast episode, we included the toolkit in there. So you have it handy already. Okay. So the toolkit is super jam-packed, has a lot of amazing resources in it. But today I wanted to talk about the 7 family essentials. Like what is required in a family in order to create calm and peace? And what do kids actually need? And what do you need, right? So what happens in the summer is a lot of times we get out of balance, right? As a family, the kids stay up later, we travel a lot, we get out of our routines. There's a lot of extra screen time. It's just kind of an overwhelming time while there's also weird downtime. And so we get kind of out of our rhythms. It's super great in some ways because there's a little bit more ease, you don't have to always be in a hurry and there's no homework and things like that. But it's also a lot of work for parents. So when you are able to give your kids access to the types of things they need in order to stay self-regulated, you'll have a lot less misbehavior. And I've talked a lot about self-regulation on the podcast. We have different episodes for that. Just search regulation and you'll see different episodes about that. But essentially, self-regulation is the ability to manage your own nervous system, to keep yourself at homeostasis, to keep yourself balanced, and when you get off balance, to bring yourself back. So if your kids have certain ingredients kind of built into their life, it is a lot easier for them to get back to regulated state. So when they're dysregulated, they can get back. Now, of course, if your kid's physical, emotional, and mental needs are consistently met, they are more regulated. But it's also very hard to meet those. So it's impossible to meet them at all times. That's just unrealistic. But what we can do is we can build in a framework that helps you know what it is that you should be working on if your kids seem off balance. So the things that I'm going to talk about today, if you start to see your kids fighting a lot or complaining a lot or being, really like lethargic, they're not motivated, they don't want to go to camp, like all the stuff that comes up, then maybe you need to check in to the 7 family essentials and see what's going on. Okay, so what are they? The first is called family touch points. So having a point in time on a regular schedule where you check in as a family. Boredom. Your kids actually need to be bored. I'm going to talk about it in a minute. So we have family touch points. We have boredom, time in nature, being outside in dirt, in grass, in water, in sand, in mucking around with trees and bugs and birds and frogs and whatever you can bring to your kids. They desperately need time in nature. Number 4, movement and rest. They need to be able to move their body and they need to rest their body. Solitude and self-care. So this is part of like what you need is also time without your kids. You need that to thrive, and also your kids need solitude to thrive. Socializing, everybody needs to be with their peers, and a project or productivity or creativity. So I'm going to read those through again. You don't have to take notes, remember, because you can just get this in the toolkit. But if you like to, you can. So we have family touch points, boredom, time in nature, movement, rest, solitude, socializing, and productivity. Okay, so I'm going to go through and kind of tell you the benefits of each one, because if you understand what the benefit is and you know the why behind the what, it'll help you stay more committed, which is kind of cool because sometimes you're told like, kids need screen-free breaks. And you're like, okay. But if you're told why, then maybe you'll be like, oh, okay, that's worth it. I'm going to do that. So that's what I want to give you the background of like why these things are important, not just what they are. Okay, so touch points. I made this concept up during the pandemic because I don't know if you guys remember in quarantine, like the first couple of weeks, everybody was like really into being together and like people were doing funny videos and plays and people had prom at home and it was like really sweet and nice. And then as weeks and weeks and weeks and months went by, everyone started to retreat in families and do more and more stuff by themselves. So I created this idea of family touch points, and what they are, it's moments when everyone, including you, is off of your device and you're doing something together at the same time. So it's like a real in-person event where you're all together and everyone is off of their device, including you. Okay, so some touch points could be eating a meal together. Doesn't have to be dinner. Can be other meals. Can be playing a game, but where your phone is put away. Watching a movie or a show together, all as one group. Going hiking, taking a walk in the neighborhood, going biking, doing a craft. If you have like a lake or whatever, you go swimming together where everyone's in the water. So what we're looking for is a period of time where everybody is doing the same thing at the same time together. Now, what's interesting is that the amount of time that you spend together as a family, it's not as important as the quality of that time. So you're trying to create a real intentional, okay, this is a touch point. This is a specific and intentional moment where we are all together. So the reason why we do that is because there's tons of research about this. It shows that when families enjoy activities together, Their children learn skills of the thing that you're doing, like eating together or swimming or biking or whatever. They learn the skill, but they also have a higher self-esteem because they feel important. They feel like they matter. They look around at the grown-ups and the grown-ups are looking at them and paying attention to them. And they're like, oh, well, if grown-ups are willing to stop whatever they're doing to give me eye contact and ask me questions and be curious about my thoughts and pay attention to me, I must be important, right? So if you want to help your children's self-esteem, create touch points. It also your kids will have better academic performance. It strengthens your communication with them. It teaches your children how to be a good friend, actually, the more time you spend together as a family. And then you just get better behavior because you're filling up their little cups, right? You're making deposits in your relational bank account with your kids. So touch points are super important and you want to build them in as frequently as possible. And I have some guidelines about that. For kids under 11, you want to do a daily touch point. Now, some parents work or travel and they aren't around their kids every day. That's fine. My husband, when we were raising our kids, he did not really spend any time with them Monday through Friday, except what we started to do was he took them to school. And that was really a touch point for him with them every morning. And so they were in the car and they listened to music and they had like a little chat. And he would be really intentional during that time. That was his touch point. Of course, as a stay-at-home mom, I had lots and lots of touch points. And then as a family, we would do it on the weekends. So with your kids, you want to plan a daily touch point where you are paying attention to them. And then for kids over 12, it gets a little bit trickier to have these like solid times where you're together. So you want to plan 2 to 3 touch points a week between 12 and through high school, especially in the summer if you can. You just say, hey, do you want to go for a walk? Or it would be really nice to. I'm gonna make a cup of tea, or I'm gonna have sparkling water. Do you want to sit with me outside? Now the invitation is just as important as the yes. So you can make a lot of invitations and your kid can say no, and that's fine. We don't need to make it a thing. We're just demonstrating to them, hey, you matter. I'm here to pay attention. All right. I love touch points. And as I'm saying all this, I'm like really missing touch points with my family of 4. And it's just tricky with college students and, senior in high school. They're out and about. They've got jobs. They've got friends. They're busy. So I'm working at 1 touch point a week right now. As a group, each kid I try to do it every other day or so. All right. Ingredient number 2 is about boredom. Okay. Now I did an episode on this, episode 15, and I go into boredom quite a bit. So I'm not going to go like that deep into it, but I want you just to remember that your kids, when they are bored, that is a benefit to their cognitive and emotional development, but they will resist it because the brain itself, it craves fast and easy sources of everything. It just wants, a sugar, TV, play date. Like that was my son. That's my little song about him. And he just was always wanting some sort of input. But if I didn't try to solve that problem for him and I let him struggle through the boredom, he would then get to the other side and come up with really creative ideas. So in the toolkit, I have 80 plus things that kids can do to like boredom busters. But what I want to let you know is that you cannot offer those boredom busters until the brain is desperate for something. So what do I mean by that? It's like your kids are going to be like, I'm bored. And you're going to immediately say, oh, do you want to play a game? No, I don't want to play a game. And then you're going to be like, oh, okay. Do you want to make like lemonade? And then we can make some popsicles and like, that'll be really fun. No, I don't even like lemonade. So don't immediately offer a boredom buster. Just be like, okay. Well, I'm here if you want any ideas, but I'm not bored and I'm going to go do whatever I was doing. And you just move on. Or you can have a little conversation that's fun, but don't try to solve the boredom problem. Let the brain struggle. Let it start to crave something. It's kind of like food. Like you're hungry, you like didn't eat enough lunch or something, and then you go like to the cupboard and you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna eat all these chips and crackers or crackers and cheese or like something like that. But you might think like, oh, I probably should have an apple, but your brain isn't gonna crave that. It's gonna crave something fast and easy. So you have to, if you don't have access to that fast and easy, then your brain's like, okay, well, let's just eat something. Let's eat an apple. And then it'll go for the healthier things. So we want to give our kids the opportunity to have boredom. And the way that I highly encourage you to do that this summer is what I call screen-free breaks. So a screen-free break is a time where your kid doesn't have access to technology in order to solve their dopamine depletion. Like they want something, they're craving something, and if you give them the device, fine, just watch an iPad show or whatever, then they don't overcome the feeling of boredom and they don't learn to regulate their nervous system through that discomfort. This is why kids have more and more difficulty paying attention in school, and it's because they're just not getting trained at home to sit still and like figure life out without a device. So your kid is going to crave that sort of screen input or sugar input, and you want to let them move through their cravings and through their protests and trust that their brain will solve the problem once it recognizes the quick fixes aren't available. So you're just like, I always think like, hold the line, hold, like just stand strong, be strong, and then wait until their brain is like, okay, what game do you want to play? Okay, what puzzle? Like, what'd you say about lemonade? I can make some, right? We want to get them to that point where they're willing to say yes to that thing. So I talk a lot about screens and stuff like that in episode 67. So if you're curious more about screens time strategies, you can check out episode 67. Okay, ingredient number 3 is time in nature. That's one of my favorite things. Obviously, if you've been listening to this podcast or you follow my Instagram, which I'm on an Instagram break kind of, so I haven't been posting that much. But anyway, I love nature. I love taking my kids to tons of national parks and hiking and the beach and lakes and just like everything you can imagine that I try to get them outdoors because I crave it. But what is cool is that your children desperately need to be in nature in order to grow up with a good physical and emotional health. So it's a huge reset to even go in the hot, humid weather. Like just experiencing the outdoors is so good for the nervous system. When kids spend a lot of time in the woods or in outdoors, they show up with decreases in distraction. So they have higher attention ability, like a focus. They're less likely to be depressed, and they're less likely to be, gain too much weight. One of my books that I love to recommend about this is by Richard Louv, and it's called The Last Child in the Woods. If you love this kind of stuff and you're curious, then I would, check that book out. You can just get it from the library and skim it or whatever. But being outside in nature has this tremendous emotional and physical boost for you and your kids. So create as much opportunity as you can to be outside. And then when you are outside, when you're in nature, try to move slowly, unlike me on this podcast where I'm like talking so fast. Really pay attention. Look around. Look at the sky. Notice the clouds. Look at the birds. Try to find out which one is making which noise. Notice the different colors of green even. Looking at, the different flowers, finding a little bee, or, if your kids are afraid of bees, don't look for bees. But just kind of textures, like letting them take their feet off and dig in the dirt a little bit. It is so, so healthy for your kids. Okay, in that, we have ingredient number 4, which is movement and rest. Your kids they actually really need to move their bodies more than adults. So I call this big body movement. Like they need to do big gross motor movement. And if you think about playing on a device or watching TV or doing something small like Legos even, or playing dolls, those are really cool and good things to do, but you also need to move your body. So we have these big muscles in our bodies, and those muscles need to move. So we have we have big thighs, and we have arm muscles, and we have core muscles. We have all big back muscles, right? So our kids, they need to be running and swimming and throwing and jumping. And when they are doing those things, they're growing their brains, they're growing their bodies, and they're growing their nervous system. So kids under 10, they need 2 rounds of big body movement each day, preferably before noon, and again, about an hour before you start the bedtime routine, which is nice because you can have, the sun goes down late in the summer, so you can get that big body movement in. Trampoline, we had a trampoline for the kids. We had scooters. We had bikes. We live in a cul-de-sac, so they could just twirl around in our cul-de-sac. We would go to the park a lot. We have a lot of open space. I would let them climb these weird, wall like hills and throw rocks at stuff. And Sawyer was like amazing at climbing trees. All the other moms freaked out all the time, but he would climb everything. Lincoln would climb too, and then Lincoln would get stuck. And that's also funny, right? Like it's so healthy and helpful for them to be doing things with their body and taking risks, learning to jump off the diving board and learning how to swim, and they're using all their muscles. And this is such a beautiful time of the year to get them to do that, because so much of school is sitting around and doing nothing. So what's kind of interesting, I found this little bit of science to talk about how important movement was for kids. And so what is really interesting is that the more you move your body, the better quality of sleep you have. The more you move your body, the easier it is to fall asleep. So if you have a kid who's playing video games or watching TV, that during the day, they might take more time to fall asleep and have poorer quality of sleep. But if a kid who's playing really actively during the day, they sleep faster and better. Now, I have a night owl plus an ADHD, like Lincoln night owl and ADHD. And he had to move his body. But what's funny is he would resist it. He would kind of be like, I always say he's like a body in motion stays in motion. You have to like give it a little bit of push, and then he would be all about it. So I really had to create like, nope, Legos are closed, or, no, we're not playing inside anymore. We're going outside and we're moving our bodies. All right. So, and then rest is also very important, especially if your kid has had a big day at the big long, walk to the zoo and you could do this big thing, or a big beach day, or they've gone to camp. They need to rest their body. And that doesn't necessarily mean rest with a screen. It can be rest with a book, rest with a stuffed animal, rest with music, laying on the couch, you tickling their little feet or whatever. That goes into ingredient number 5, which is solitude. Now, you as a mom are going to need time without your children. So if you are like, I'm a really cool summer mom, I love to be with my kids all the time, I love that, and you're probably going to burn out. So you need to build time alone into your daily rhythm, whether that's a walk alone before dinner, or a morning yoga class on YouTube, or a night off of the bedtime routine. Like some kind of thing where you do that little break from your kids is great, especially if you have a partner who's around and is available. So you're like, hey, you're on duty. I'm going for a walk. See ya. You can also take mini breaks when you have your kids around you, where you just say, I'm going to sit and drink my iced tea and listen to my song and listen to my headphones. And you can just do that. It's okay. You're not ignoring your kids. You're just taking care of yourself. You're reframe that ignoring your kids to recharging for your kids, like a little battery. So if you have anybody who's supporting you, a partner, a spouse, or a nanny or caregiver or babysitter or best friend or whoever, and you can, take care of each other's kids or swap or, hire someone once a week or get your mom or dad involved, something like that. Anything you can do to pull in people to help you is really helpful. And I did do 2 episodes on these topics. Episode 78 and episode 21 are all about summer burnout for moms and how to avoid that and what to do if you are burned out. One of those episodes is called When You're Too Tired to Deal. I'm sure you can relate. All right. And then, of course, your kids need alone time too. So if you start to see kids fighting a lot, grumpy, being annoying, then maybe they need to move their body. Maybe they need a touch point. Maybe they need some alone time. Maybe they need some time in nature. This is like a problem-solving list, right? You're like, oh, have we done this? Have we done that? All right. Ingredient number 6, socializing. So your kids need to play with their peers. And a lot of times in the summer, we can kind of maybe over-rely on friends. The siblings or possibly like cousins and stuff like that. And that's fine. I love that. Family connections and all that. Neighborhood kids, all those things. And don't forget that your kids need to hang out with their school friends too, because it's a lot easier to be with your school friends. When you see your school friends in the summer, it's an easier transition when you go back in August. So the other reasons why being with kids is really important is because so kids really need to play in unstructured environments. They need to socialize with their own peers without adults telling them how to behave or a video game that tells them how to act. So we want our kids to be able to learn what we call self-governance. It's what happens in unstructured play when kids make up a game, then they make up the rules, and then they figure out how to enforce those rules. That kind of free, open play happens in peer groups, and it's really great if you can create that in the summer. Like, I'm thinking of some of the games my kids played. So we have a pool. We live where it's really hot. Like, lots of people have a pool where we live. It's not that fancy. But anyway, the kids would play pirate or pirating or something like that in the pool, and they would each have a floaty. And then they would like be racing or something around. I don't know what they were doing because they're kids. I don't understand. And then they would pirate each other's stuff. And there was a whole elaborate game, and other kids would come over and they would play this game, and like they had rules. And then they would like be mad because someone would break the rules and they come tattle on each other. And I'd be like, I don't know how to help you. I don't understand what pirating is. But that is so helpful for them to have friends that get together in unstructured play environments. And that can happen in the summer a lot easier. And also, the summer is a great time for kids to do that healthy risk-taking that I was talking about, like jumping off the diving board and climbing the tree and throwing the rock and swim into the deep end and all those things. But they'll be more likely to do those things when their peers are around because they can get some encouragement. Now, we don't want to shame a kid, be like, well, Johnny's jumping off the diving board. What's wrong with you? Why aren't you doing that? You don't know. Just be like, whoa, 10-year-olds can jump off diving boards? That's so cool. And just kind of acknowledging like, you can do that or you could not do that, but you could try it. It's fine. What's the worst that could happen? Obviously, if your kid can't swim, I'm not recommending that they jump off diving boards. Obviously, healthy risk, right? Affordable mistakes. We just want our kids to be doing those things, learning those skills with their peers. Okay, the last one is like a project. So productivity. When your kids have a project or a goal, it can be very motivating and create a lot of positive emotion inside of your kids. So, they have they used to do this much more when I was a kid, but like summer readathons. I remember you could earn a Pizza Hut pizza or something like that if you read, 100 books. I don't remember what the rules were. But those kinds of projects and goals in the summer are really interesting. And so you can talk about like, hey, what do you want to do this summer? Do you want to work on any projects, or do you want to learn something new or something like that? And brainstorming a project like, oh, I've always wanted to build this one really hard Lego set, or, I wanted to figure out if I could jump off the diving board. Any kind of little goal like that. You take your kids, there's something they're interested in, and then you guide them to do it and give them baby steps if they need to. And that feels really, really good. A sense of accomplishment is super healthy for kids. All right. The 7 essentials for a family to thrive, right, are the family touch points: boredom, time in nature, movement, solitude, socializing, and productivity. So this next few weeks, as you head into the summer, think about one area where you're super good at. You're like, oh, I have that down. Like, we socialize all the time, or we're always in nature, or, my kids spend lots of time being bored. Whatever it is for your family, just give yourself like a little like, hey, I've got that one. There's 7 here. Touch points. Oh yeah, we do those. I want you to think about what you do well as a family, like where you're thriving. Movement. Oh, yes, totally. Right. Whatever it is for you. And then I want you to think about where there might be a gap or a place that you would like to add more of the ingredient in, and build in some intention around that for yourself and for your family. Be like, this year I really do want to get to the lake, or this year I really do want to, build in a family quiet time, or I am going to create a reading challenge for the kids this year, or last year we didn't spend a lot of time with school friends. I'm going to try to do that, once every other week. Whatever you think you might want to add more of, try it. Just explore it. See what happens. And I can guarantee that the more, like if you think of a Ferris wheel and the 7 things are on the, in the buckets of the Ferris wheel, and you're just kind of letting that Ferris wheel go up and around, and you're trying to get to them without don't put any pressure on yourselves to be at the top of the Ferris wheel at all times. Like not all on one plane. So just kind of trying to catch these things as frequently as you can. That will help your kid's nervous system and yours, because activated amygdalas talk to other amygdalas. And so if your kids are activated, you're going to be activated. And if you're activated, your kids are going to be activated. So we want everybody to go slower this summer. Take really good care of yourself. Let your kids learn some new skills, and just enjoy your summer. Okay, this is just one part of the summer toolkit. So like I said, if you want to get a review of all these, go to my website, calmmamacoaching.com, go to free resources, and download the summer stress-free summer with kids, the toolkit there. And and that page actually has a ton of other free resources. So I'd love for you to take advantage of those. They're there for you. I just love helping parents and, creating more peace and calm in your life and for your children. Okay, kick off this summer with lots of touch points and lots of boredom and all the things. And I will talk to you next week. Hey mama, if you enjoyed this podcast episode, I want to encourage you to do 2 things. The first is go to my website, calmmamacoaching.com, and get a copy of the Stop Yelling cheat sheet. You'll get a step-by-step breakdown of the most important tool I teach, which is the pause break. And you'll also get 40 ideas to reset your body and balance your nervous system so you don't have to yell at your kids. You can get a copy of that, again, at my website, calmmamacoaching.com/stop yelling. The other thing I'd love for you to do is go to Apple Podcasts and rate and review this podcast so that other moms can discover empowering and helpful, practical parenting strategies just like you did today. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. It means a lot to be in your ear every week and to support you on your parenting journey.